Folks, we live in a world with two tales. One is a tale of success and the other is a tale of failure. As the kids say,
struggle is real.
And today we're going to break down the difference between the two with a video all about performance and failure. A story of a box office juggernaut, horror game adaptation that's breaking records and conventions. And it's also the story of a whisper of a superhero saga that's already faltering under the weight of its own legacy. I give you the massive success of Five Nights at Freddy's, at least their opening weekend anyway, versus the future disappointment that is the Marvels. Hey Grant, let's have some fun with this one. Here we go. Let's kick off with the success story and then we'll get on to the Marvels. This weekend was huge, busting all sorts of box office records at, well, the box office. And look, a franchise is born of this one. In a world where the impossible becomes reality, where a horror movie defies the odds, Blumhouse's Five Nights at Freddy's is the new reality. Video game adaptations are hit or miss, and with a heavy emphasis on the miss, usually. And yet this adaptation of a popular video game has turned some lofty projections into a thrilling reality. Let's start with expectations. Early on, the stage was set for Five Nights at Freddy's, with the pre-release predictions hinting at an opening of $68 million domestically. Industry insiders were obviously dubious and downplayed those numbers. They even suggested that's a little high for any current film opening weekend, at least as far as expectations at the moment. Especially a horror film? Boy, were they wrong. Those admittedly lofty goals for Five Nights at Freddy's missed the mark, but for a very different reason. This remarkable creation, made possible by Jim Henson's Creature Shop, shattered those expectations, pushing its weekend's earnings to an astounding $78 million domestically and $103 million global. For at least one film this fall, blockbuster fever has grasped moviegoers, and Universal unleashed a marketing force to be reckoned with. Not just for this film, but for its future. The fans have rallied, and the box office, they answered the call. Well, as front-loaded as this film might be, the allure of this horror gem is undeniable. Those surveyed indicated that repeat viewerships may be strong. A surprise fact for a reason, and I'll give you that in just a minute, but Friday itself saw a staggering $39.4 million, which does include about $10.3 million from Thursday previews. And obviously this film is proving to be more male skewing, with the audience composition about 57% male, 43% female. Oh, and that reason I mentioned as surprising a moment ago, an impressive 80% of the audience belonged to the under 24 demographic, seemingly oblivious to the fact that the movie was actually available on Peacock for home viewing. In light of that, let's look at some things Universal may not want to hear, but are also compelling. Intriguingly, only 23% of the audience identified as Peacock subscribers. This is unlike the higher percentages for other streaming platforms out there, and it speaks directly to the lack of subscriber numbers for their service. But it also is very telling as we look at the future for, well, the Marvels, and we'll get there in a moment. The unique dynamic of day-and-date release this year didn't deter moviegoers from seeking a communal theater experience, illustrating another example of how the theater is very different from home viewing. Now, let's have a laugh at the Marvels. Of course. Since Iger is an actual weatherman, let's start this like a weather report. For the Marvels, our forecast is stormy, under massive dark clouds of uncertainty. With a decent chance of complete failure, my advice: be prepared for a litany of libel and lies as we dive into the realm of superhero blockbusters and, well, the sound of a fizzle. Look, Marvel Studios once soared to incredible heights, but recent turbulence in the form of multiple flops threatens to disrupt or abruptly terminate its flight, in this case, terminate. Grant, I'm betting on abrupt termination. How about you?
You are terminated.
Yeah, you're right. The barely anticipated The Marvels future isn't as bright as some former weather guesser might think. For context, let's look at some numbers. After Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 posted its initial opening numbers of $118.4 million, that left some fans wondering if the franchise overall had lost some of its luster. Then came the craptastic Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which further divided audiences, barely doubling its debut earnings and leaving a taste of disappointment in its wake. Wait, that's not strong enough. You could actually see the stink wafting off of that film, even while you were watching it. One of the major malfunctions in the former Marvel hit machine is the one that gets overlooked, or maybe many. Marvel Studios' adventure into Disney Plus streaming series haven't always met with the warmest reception. And again, that's me being rather kind on, well, for me, as fewer and fewer people are sticking through any of these shows to the last episode. Waning interest is one thing, but that kind of collapse is calamitous. It also points to a trend that the industry, and more specifically Disney, can't ignore. Know what it is? If so, hit pause and give me your guess in the comment section down below. We'll wait.
Go on, write it down.
Look, some of the numbers here for the Marvel's opening weekend are a perfect recipe for flop sauce. More on the spicy side this time. So let's do my favorite thing and look at some numbers. Right now, the opening weekend range for this film is sitting at about $45 million to $67 million. And that's down, over 12% down. Down from like a 50 to 75 million projection on October 12th. It's not quite 3 weeks ago. That's pretty bad. The major contributing factors, for those of you who put your answers down below, are actually right here. Let me know down below if you were right. We'll start with number 1. The universe itself became overly complex and convoluted. It was hard to follow. Number 2, the sheer volume of things spreading out from film to television became impossible to keep up with. There just wasn't enough time or interest. And number 3, the extraordinarily poor quality of everything post-Endgame just became intolerable. At some point, the majority of the audience was just done. And now we get to the blunt reality of it all. The MCU has left some casual fans feeling adrift, and the studio's failed female future, Captain Marvel, and more importantly, the Marvels, will do nothing but put on display Disney's complete incompetence once again. So the odds stacked against the Marvels aren't limited to historical comparisons, and in this sense, let's give the trade publications their moment in the sun, even if they are incredibly wrong. Outlets like Deadline, Variety, The Hollywood Reporter, well, they're all owned by the same parent company, Penske. And most people don't know that that's why the narrative is always the same. The ongoing SAG-AFTRA labor strike may hamper the film's promotional efforts, according to them, well, and maybe the studios. But without the human-looking wooden tiki known as Brie Larson and her little-known co-stars out there on the media circuit, Disney's marketing plans are supposedly going to be more limited, especially when targeting the now remarkably overserved female audiences with the girl power message. However, the struggle doesn't end there. November's competition looms large, at least in that arena, with The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, set to disappoint, and Disney's Wish vying for some kind of attention. In other words, this subpar superhero flick is fighting a mountain of mediocrity that's all directed at women. So as a warning, my friends, I suggest you start bracing yourself for all the names that you will be called, for all the lying that will be done, and for all the noise about superhero fatigue setting in. It's the playbook, and it's all they've got. I mean, after all, if they were more creative, they'd make better things, right? And now for some audience participation. What do you think about Five Nights at Freddy's opening weekend performance? Do you think that The Marvels has a chance to even come close to matching it? And has Disney dumped too much effort in converting all of the boy brands to girls brands? I think that last one's going to inspire quite a bit of conversation down below. And if you haven't already, please hit the like button, and please subscribe if you also haven't already. I'm trying to hit that magical 15K subscribers by the end of the year, and your help would really be appreciated. On that note, be sure to take care of yourself and take care of others. Until next time, see ya!